So good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of the Down the Lane podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Miles and by Bobbie. No game Saturday, so our last game was obviously the 2-0 reverse at home to Horsham. Miles, I'm going to come to you first. Your thoughts?
Well, it's lucky we've had nearly a week now to calm down, I think, because I think if it was on Wednesday, there'd have been a few more heated opinions. And while we still got to be quite strong in our take about this, I'm glad I've had 5 days or so, 6 days to assess the game, be a bit more measured, particularly about the season as a whole, compared to how we've been on Wednesday. Because as a lot of Borough fans were after the game on Tuesday night, sort of as the players were walking in, then on the Facebook forum, etc., and Wednesday, the day after, everyone was fuming. I'm sure some people are still fuming because it was that bad. Just sort of in terms of the game itself, I said after 10 minutes, started as a bit of a joke, but I just said I don't see us getting anything out of this game, and I just think we're going to lose. And it's very rare for people that stand with me all the time to me to have that sort of negative attitude after about 10 minutes of football. And at that point, we were still 0-0, but it was just the way we were like playing. It was just for like a lack of purpose and a lack of sort of desire to it, which is the most disappointing thing for me. For those that are on the forum, I put a bit of I'll say a rant. I think it was a slightly structured argument as to what my thoughts on the game were. But yeah, just every time we got the ball, it just feels like we just didn't really have much purpose, creativity. We lost all our duels over the pitch, and basically just got outworked and outfought by a part-time side again. Which the amount of times we said that, I know. Sort of being full and part-time, there's different viewpoints on how much that affects the difference in calibre between the sides. But in terms of getting outfought on desire, it's just unforgivable, really, I think, for those lads at Horsham. They would have had work the day before, on the day, whatever. Our lads have had all the time in the world to train, prepare, to get themselves mentally ready, and still not be up for it. It's just nowhere near good enough. And I think the fans have every right to say their frustrations, really, against the lack of intent, I think, from the players. I know that they want to win, right? But you've got to show that in your play and demand standards of each other. It was just quiet in the stands, quiet on the pitch. Just like alarm bells are ringing for me, really. I've been quite positive about the season, about our chances. Even when we went 1-0 up, ironically, against Slough, I turned around to Joe and said, we're going to be safe now. We'll be fine. We turned the corner. And then ever since I said that, it's all gone downhill, really. It was more the manner of the defeat for me itself, and just absolutely dismal home form. I can see how if you only go to home games from watching us, you feel we're going to go down, because that you can count on half your hands the amount of games that we've had where you come out of Priory Lane feeling optimistic. It's just really, really depressing, to be honest with you. So I can't comment too much on moments in the game, because to be honest, I tried to forget it. But yeah, it was just a really, really bad night, and one to quickly learn our lessons from, importantly, and move on from.
Yeah, and I mean, that's obviously the hope, is that the lesson will be learned. We've bounced back before when we've had poor performances, but I think that you're right in what you said. The second half at Slough wasn't that great, and we didn't really bounce back 2 days later against Horsham. And, Horsham at the end of the day were struggling themselves with injuries, struggling with players out. And I think for them to come and basically, I think they played how we played. The first 20 minutes, they started off quick, and that's what we've said that we do. We know that we start the game hard, fast, quick, but they just took that game to us, and then, yeah, the rest was, well, obviously not good. Bobbie, your thoughts?
I think it's, as Miles said toward the end of this thing, it's just not good enough. I mean, you look at our run of forms. We beat Dover, we drew, and we played Worthing on Boxing Day, which I think everyone knows it was a free hit. We bounced back at Tunbridge, and then you look at Slough, and Slough obviously they were on a 3-game bounce, but we obviously, if you take away the Worthing game, we had one quite emphatically against Dover and Tunbridge. So you would have thought going into the Slough game that we would be favourites. We went 1-0 up, and then, as I said the other week, we just kind of just stopped what we're doing, and then it just carried on. It carried on to Horsham, and yeah, again we didn't. I don't think we registered a shot on target against Horsham. I might be wrong, but I don't actually remember us getting one on target. We obviously hit the crossbar and lost our position, but from what I'm seeing on the pitch, like, the players just aren't. People told me says that players aren't giving their best, and you can clearly see they're not, because we can go from winning 5-2 and 4-3 at Tunbridge to then losing like that against Horsham. As well as that, I mean, the negativity around the fan base, they're right to be negative. I mean, we're currently 4 points adrift in the relegation zone, having been in a similar situation nearly 2 years ago now. It was Adams this time last year at Horsham. It was Adams' first game. We drew 2-2 at Torquay. Look at the outcome then. We had stayed up. By then we were at a bigger margin. But look at it now. We're 4 points. It's on a plate pretty much for us. We're practically 1 win and a draw, or 2 wins from being out of the drop. And you look at teams like Dagenham, who started really poorly. They're now flying high in 11th. They thought they were going to go down. They wanted their manager out, and they've stuck with their manager, and they're doing really well at the moment. So it all just sort of comes down to, are there players in the group that don't want to put in 100%? And if they won't, Tommy will get rid of them, because he's done it before. He's done it at previous clubs. So if there aren't players that are going to give them all, Tommy will get rid of them and bring his own in. And then that kind of leads me on to, obviously, do we need better players? People have been calling out for signings for weeks. Obviously, injuries. Freddie gets off an injury. I'm trying to think who else went off injured recently. Who did we lose on Tuesday? We lost Freddie and
there was someone else, but I can't remember who.
No,
which is really poor. But I just can't remember who went off.
No, yes, the new guy, the new fella.
Yeah.
He came off injured. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, the new bloke. I've forgotten his name. Plastic fan, obviously.
Roberts.
That one. And he obviously got, from where I was standing, he got a fair bit of criticism. Obviously, we've not seen him to an extent. Obviously, there may be a player in there. Hopefully, there is. But if we're going to if we're losing players like flies, we're going to end up with, academy players on the bench, and we're kind of adding fuel to our own fire here. I mean, Miles obviously said earlier that he was kind of on Slough. He said obviously we might stay up. I mean, I'm stuck between, are we going to stay up or will we go down? And it's just really hard to call, because yes, we're winning games on the plus side, but we're putting performances like Tuesday and Slough, and it's all just a bit really confusing at the moment. So that's my little rant over. So
just hold them thoughts for a minute, because obviously later on we're going to be discussing what we need to stay up and our remaining fixtures, and we're going to see the league table as well. So for me, I think you both, between us, I think we've all said it all about Horsham. I think we move on from there. We hope for a reaction on Saturday against Hornchurch, which, let's be fair, is going to be another penalty kick, really. If we get anything out of the game, then so good. If we don't, all I want to see is a performance from the players that shows that actually they're wanting to get something from the game, because, looking back at, we're very up and down at the moment. And I think, so last season I spoke to somebody who made a mistake in a crucial game, or didn't make a mistake, but I'm not going to name him, but he didn't do something in a crucial game that, after the game, when I was chatting to him, he said, if I had that moment over again, I do that differently. And that's experience. And I think, Bobbie, you saying there about, do we need more players? I think we do, but I think we need experience. you look at when Matt Gray came in, you look at when Matt Beard came in. We tried to build a side. We weren't adding to a side. We've tried to build a side because obviously last year we lost a lot of our players, and I think that when you look at that, adding to a side is far easier than building a complete new side. And listen, Matt was the one that did the signing start of the season. They're Matt Gray players. So Tommy's come in and he's taking them players on. But building a squad is far more difficult than adding to a squad. And on both occasions, we started late. Adam went. By the time Matt Gray was in, a lot of teams had built or had added into what they retained. We didn't retain many because either they went or we didn't want them. Matt didn't want them. And I think when you look at the players that we brought in, young players, young hungry players, there's not got that experience around them. So going back to that issue, what I said about that player a minute ago, there's times when a knowledgeable, experienced player will go down. He'll take a yellow card for the team. He'll go down and pretend he's injured to give the side that 2 minutes to build. But these youngsters don't know. When they've come out of academies, they don't understand that part of the game, I don't think. And that's nothing against them because they're going to learn it in time. But you need that experience around. So when it comes to... And I think Tommy says that in his interviews. He says, look, there's players around here. He needs more players that have played 35, 40 games a season. And we haven't got them players. And I think that's where, we need to be looking. But then, of course, you look at the situation where, in the summer when people are coming, when Eastbourne are going in for players, then maybe Eastbourne's a far more attractive proposition in the summer before the season started than it is when it's in the middle of winter with the wind and the rain howling round and you're in a relegation fight, right? So, we need to look at how we get them players in now. Obviously Tommy said after the game against Horsham, I'm not going to be doing a lot on the pitch basically for the next week. I'm going to be there trying to drag the bodies in. So let's hope that that's been the case. Let's hope that there are players that are ready to come in, because I think it's crucial that we do bring that experience in. And even, even if they're older players that might only be able to play, 60, 70 minutes of a game, that 60, 70 minutes, it's the mentoring that they can do with the younger players. So I think I'm just going to go on to the fans' reaction as well on Tuesday night before we move on and look at the safety lines, etc. Obviously, the players were told in no uncertain terms when they came off by a lot of fans, including myself, and I know including others in here, that it just simply wasn't good enough. And I think that is something that Tommy said in his interview, let's not go on about it. Let's not go on social media and whatever else. Let's, by that time, people had already posted on social media. People had put, but I don't know that one post, I don't think I read one post that actually attacked an individual. We attacked the team. And I did. I told the team that it wasn't good enough. They're earning some good money for doing what they're doing. And they need to make it look like they want to earn that money. So
and that Baz as well. Just before you move on to the sort of next point regarding staying up, I've not called out a couple of individuals. I saw you could sort of read between the lines of my post on there saying about a few players not being ready or sort of right for us currently, which sort of you can read between the lines. I'll say out is Roberts came off and Archie Taylor, who I didn't go to Tunbridge, and I heard he played all right at Tunbridge, so sort of fair enough. But from what I've seen, from Archie, obviously Mateus only had sort of 40 minutes combined across 2 games, so it's difficult to get a full picture. But I get an idea of what sort of player he is. I'm not criticising them as players. I'm sure they're brilliant players, but I think it's really unfair of the sort of not necessarily Tommy, but just the whole. It doesn't sit right with me how we're sort of chucking young players into the fire, if that makes sense. Like, because I'm a young person, like people know me personally. I've recently sort of started a new position, and I need support, right? Like, I need my manager who's worked for my company for 30 years to give me that sort of guidance and support essentially. And it just feels like currently, unless it's coming from Tommy or Craig, I might have missed another player who's experienced, Harry Phipps, and that's literally it. You can count 3 people. If I missed someone, by the way, let me know. But like, count 3 people in the entire playing staff, as it were. I know Tommy's not playing, but he's still part of like the sort of setup on a match day that you can go to for like experience essentially. I know Jane Davis are on the fringes of that, but he's still not what I describe as like a proper leader, as it were. And I just think that's like just so unfair from like just from a not like a moral standpoint, because at the end of the day, like they're still good enough footballers, right? But just to keep like sort of throwing young players into a situation, they don't have the experience to fix it. Like, they can't call on their time at X club when they managed to pull them out of it, or like it's not even just like in terms of how they play in like the game itself. It's just how they manage their emotions afterwards. Because Archie Taylor in particular got a fair amount of stick, and yeah, he played poorly on the night. It's no question. He'd know that himself, but then it's how he sort of pulls himself out of that. I'm not saying like don't voice your opinions on a certain player, because everyone's entitled to give an opinion. If it's not as long as it doesn't get personal. I think that's the most important thing. But when he goes home, he might then get in his shell and then can't then react next game. Whereas say like a Moussa Diarra had a bad game, they have enough experience and they're like, oh, I've had a bad day there, I'll put it aside. I'll sort of play better next game. We just need I've been crying out for it so long. I feel like I'm going blue in the face throughout this whole season. We just need more players that are going to have that experience. If we don't sign them, we're down. It's just simple as that. Like, we've got to spend the money. Because if we don't spend the money and we don't get these players in, and we do go down, it's going to be catastrophic for everybody involved in terms of reputation and the same with long-term vision. But also, coming back from a financial standpoint, we're going to have to spend so much more money on getting back out of the league, and our revenues aren't going to go up; they're going to go down.
Yeah.
It just sort of it'd be a massive, because when the first time we really went down, we've sort of not accepted it. That's the wrong words, but because it was Simon, Alan, etc., everyone's first year, as it were, as a first crack, we were like, oh, okay, right, fine. Mistakes can happen. They didn't quite fully prepare for maybe or realise what was involved in the whole thing. And obviously, it ended up in the best possible way. We got a great manager in, and all happy. We all stayed up fine, and we pushed on. But this time around, it feels like the excuses are just sort of much less. It doesn't really feel like there's much sort of wiggle room, as it were, and allowance for sort of what's happened. And just going back to your point, Barry, like, we just left the summer way too late again. I just don't really understand why we're struggling to get players in. Essentially, like we seem to be fine under Adam Murray when we were in a similar situation of getting like Moussa Diarra and Alfie Bendel, Pierce Bird. Well, obviously Bamba came in. He was the one who was a bit of a risk, but the 4 I mentioned previously, they're all sort of tried and trusted players. Whereas we started off really well under Tommy, I think, signings wise. Like, I know Kai's had a bad few games, but every player can have a bad few games, right? There's the reason he's in National League itself, not the Premier League. But Kai was a good signing, and Phipps has been good most of the games. I thought he was poor at Slough, but again, everyone can have a bad game. Keeper's been decent, but yeah, like, other than that, there's just a couple of players just aren't the sort of players I feel like we need to sort of get out of this. Like, just young low knees. Like, if it's just to fill a couple of games, then he's sort of better replacement. Fair enough. Like, I do realise I'm coming at this sort of mini rant from a very ill-informed position, so I'm no doubt there's people that know much more about it than me, or are inside the club that can probably point out where I'm wrong. But I'm just coming from a fan's point of view where we don't know all the information, right? We're just guessing, and we're sort of getting to the point now where I was sort of blissfully naive, I think, especially up until probably Tuesday, actually, that we would stay up just because of what happened before, and we've turned the corner, etc. But it's sort of getting to the point now, and we'll get onto it in a second with the safety line and how many points we're at. Well, we're in big trouble here, and I don't think I properly realised that until I knew we were obviously in a bad position, but I didn't think we'd go down. I haven't really considered that fully until Tuesday and just seeing what we saw. Yeah, so my call to arms basically is please, can we get some experienced players in that will pull us out, because we will get out of it. We've got a good manager, we've got decent players, good quality, but they need a few players, particularly in centre midfield, that can sort of bind the whole thing together. Really. So yeah, that's my piece on that one.
I think that looking at the players that the club will be looking to attract, or hopefully looking to attract, I think they probably are looking for them experienced players, because that's what I think they know they need. Tommy will know they need that. So, but at the end of the day, it gets down to that stage, doesn't it, where players won't want a relegation on their CV. If they've gone all through their career and not been relegated, then why would they suddenly want a relegation on their CV? So they've got to be sure that we're going to pull out of it. And I think that we get to that situation now where we know that certain clubs in certain divisions that actually they don't want to go up. I think we were like that in the South for a number of years, where we had our time in the Premier, and certainly for a few years after that, it was like reconsolidation, where we couldn't afford to go up again. And there will be, but we couldn't afford to go down. So, when you get to this stage, January, February time of the year, you've done enough. We know there's a safety line. We're going to be looking at that in a minute. So do clubs start letting players go? Do they start saying, well, actually, we can free up some of the budget for next year. We can save some of that. We're spending a little bit too much. So we'll look now at the safety line. So on the screen here, you can see we're kind of going to discount the season 21-22 because there was only one relegated, and it was a totally different situation with obviously just 40 games rather than the 46. But you can see that 22-23, 48 points was required from 46 games, and that was goal difference that the team that got relegated on. 46 was required in 23-24, and the difference there was 4 points. And in 24-25 last year, 45 was the safety number, with 1 point being the difference to the team staying up and the team relegated. So I think if we look at that, 48 is probably the number that we need to be looking at. We're currently on 21. So I'll move to the next slide now, which is our current league table. And you'll see that, we're on 21 points alongside of Enfield. Hampton are 3 in front of us. But there are teams there, Enfield have got a game in hand. Hampton have got 2 games in hand. Bath have got 2 games in hand. And you'll see that out of them teams at the bottom there, apart from in the bottom half of the table, 2 teams there that we've played home and away, which is Dover and Slough. We have 6 games away from home and 5 games, at home left to play with the bottom half of the table there. Obviously, like you were saying earlier, Miles, I mean, look at that table, a couple of wins and we're bang out of it. But that's assuming that all the other teams lose around us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I know I had my sort of piece there regarding what sort of situation we're in, but we're, it's in terms of that, the difference. I think I don't know if fortunate is the right word, but we can get ourselves out of this. It's not mission impossible. We're only 3 or 4 points off the drop zone, and since Tommy's come in, also we've got all our wins under Tommy. So I'm sure if we started the season with Tommy, it'll be a sort of different picture altogether. But it's just the crucial games we've got coming up, particularly. I noticed Hornchurch is a bit of a free hit, so we'll sort of semi-discount that. But we've got Enfield and Farnborough by the end of the month. That's it's got to be at least 4 points out of that. Well, I think to expect 6 is obviously the dream, but if we can come out with 4, that's a solid return. And then we've just got to hope that we can sort of nab points here and there, like you said about the Hornchurch game, and being a free hit. I don't think any really games massively like a free hit for us currently, especially with the situation like we're in. No, we got to be looking to grind out those games where maybe it's, if Hornchurch is even on the weekends, if it's a bad pitch and we know it's not a particularly friendly sort of place to go in terms of making an atmosphere. Because of how far away the fans are from the pitch, if we can sort of tough out a 0-0, 1-0, that's the sort of game where we can sort of get ourselves stuck in and really show what we're about. Because it's all well and good playing well against teams like Hampton and Richmond, who basically just hand you on a play. But you've got to, sometimes in the relegation battle, as we saw under Adam, we got to really sort of stick it out in these tough games, particularly away from home on these sort of difficult pitches and tough places to go. So we can definitely get out of it, but we need to start stringing a couple of wins together. End of the day, like it's no good really having like one win and then we go for a couple of games where we just off it again and everyone's we feel like we're sort of in like a bit of a cycle currently, really, of like, oh, we'll be fine and we've played this game well, and then we have the next game where we're just completely off the boil. So but I guess that comes to the territory, right, of being like at the bottom.
Yeah, agree. Bobbie, your thoughts?
There's one team, and I mentioned them earlier. It was Dagenham, and you look where they are now. They were, when we played them, I think they were underneath us in relegation zone. We've been there for a while, and Dagenham just kept on winning. You look at them now; they're on 8 wins, 9 draws, and 8 losses. I think they've only lost 2 since we played them. They're now on 33 points. And there we are, still second bottom on 21. And it just shows that you can get a few run of results and you do climb up the table and you more or less cement yourself in this division for another year. Whether we get that run of games is another question. And then we're going to touch on it later. It's our fixtures in February that you might as well just not turn up for. Because I can barely see us getting a win out of there.
Sorry, let's move on to that slide now, because that then shows our run of fixtures and the teams in their current positions. So, I mean, Miles, you were just saying about Farnborough and Enfield. We've got Dagenham away, stuck in the middle of them 2 games, and then we've got Chesham away as well. Which we know that that's not an easy place to go to. I think you're right in saying that Farnborough and Enfield are must not lose games, at least at home. But we must get 1 win out of the 2 of them. But it just depends on the additions that we're making in the next week or 2, right? So, Bobbie, there's a list of fixtures. Where are we going to get 27 points from?
I can see 3 points at Hampton and Richmond in February, and if you're looking at January, probably Enfield. You look at February, but February are running Chesham, Maidstone, West Supermare, Torquay, and Dorking. I mean, you must be on something to think if we're going to get a win out of any of those. You look how Dorking are playing at the moment. They're looking like title contenders. Torquay are up there. Yes, Western did have a bit of a blip, but they're getting back on form. Maidstone are annual bogey team, so that's probably a loss as well. I mean, I hate being negative. If you show me that fixture, these run of fixtures last season, I would have said we would have probably won out of those 4 games. We would have won back 2 of them. You look at them now, I see that and go, we're getting out of the whole of February, we're getting 3 points.
And that's brave as well, Bob, considering we have got a horrendous record at Hampton and Richmond as well. I can't remember us ever winning against them at the Beavery. And you've been to 3 or 4 of those. So
I'm just looking at our situation.
I know they're bad, but we never win there. So
yeah, I mean, Chesham play anti-football, so we're not winning there. It's a horrific grass pitch. In fact, it's the worst pitch in the league. Torquay lost 7-0. What more can I say? Dorking is Mark White, and Western of Louis Britton, and a very good squad. So, all those teams have quality players. And yes, we may have one or two, but again, I come back to the squad. We don't have good enough players. We need additions. Otherwise, to put up a fight in February, we need them additions. If not, come Salisbury on the 7th of March, we could be not. I don't think we could be down, but we're looking down the barrel.
Yeah, and I think that the crucial part for me of this season, obviously, is the rest of the season, but the most crucial part is what happens off the pitch this week, and possibly next week. I think, as I said, Hornchurch is a bit of a penalty kick. We can go there, and I'd like to see us put a performance in. We did away last year, if you remember rightly. We Dom Odesanya was worth 2 players. Someone who was it got sent off? Someone got sent off.
When was this? Who later?
Who?
Pip later.
Oh, Pip. That's
later.
Right. Yeah. Isaac, and we had a good game up there. I actually quite like Hornchurch. It seems to be the right result when I go there. I seem to always get. I mean, I went there when Worthing got beat, which was quite nice when they were running away with the league, and that was the start of their downfall last year. So I saw.
Send back to Hornchurch Worthing again, then, please.
Sorry.
Send you back to Hornchurch v Worthing, then.
Well, I think the way Worthing are playing at the moment is they're pretty much cementing it for themselves, and I'd love to be looking at that part of the league, but obviously we do have them to play in our final month, and I think when you look at it, we as much as you just said there, when we play away at Salisbury, we could be looking down a barrel. I just see we've got some games after them. Maidenhead at home, we've already beaten Maidenhead. Chippenham away, Bath at home. Then we got to go down the road to Worthing, right, and try and turn them over
on a day where they could theoretically win the league. On a day they theoretically could win the league on that day.
They could do. They could win the league on any day.
They went by 5 to go.
But then you look at our last 4 games. We've got Tunbridge, who are currently 17th, Hemel Hempstead, who are 5th, and I think, if they're still in the playoff runoff, if they're still in that run to get into the playoffs, then obviously that could be a tough game. But if they drop a few points, they might be mid-table. I don't see Tottenham getting involved. I know they were the top of the league table that I just showed. But I don't see Tottenham getting involved. And then obviously Chelmsford, last game of the season away. And so my belief is that Worthing could be a difficult one. Obviously, they could be, like you say, needing to win the league, or needing to beat us to win the league, or to keep their title aspirations alive. Tunbridge, I think, could be a difficult one in respects of they could be involved in the fight, but if they pick up a couple of wins, we could basically have our last 4 games against teams that are not going up or not going down, which makes that fight a little bit easier if we've got that bit of experience about us, right? So I think that, for me, looking at it, I just like to see how the next month goes, really, and more importantly, how the next week goes in relation to signings. Me and Bob, me and you are going to Horsham tomorrow night. I want to see from the players that play tomorrow night, I want to see a massive reaction. I know it's only a Senior Cup game.
We'll take anything, right? We'll take anything.
Well, I think we'll take anything, Bob, but I think I don't care if we go there and get beat tomorrow. I don't care if we get beat, so long as there's 11 players that put 100% effort in. That's all I want to see tomorrow. Because we need that. We need that fight. I came home I came home on Tuesday and I said that there was more passion on the terraces than there seemed to be on the pitch on Tuesday night. And I'm not going to go against that. I think that's the case. And the players must realise that as well, right? I mean, there was a couple tried to clap us, and there were a few supporters that told them not to clap, right? What are you clapping for? And listen, whatever job you do, if somebody gives you if somebody gives you a rocket, and I saw Tommy nodding to a lot of what was being said as well, right? So he agreed with it, and obviously after after in his interview he said, "Look, the fans have had their say, and they're quite right to have their say. We pay our money to go and to follow Borough home and away." But to me, all of that's gone now. All of that's gone. Everyone has a bad day. Everyone can make a mistake in life. Everyone can make a mistake, doing something that we obviously want them to do a little bit better in. But we'll see what they do tomorrow. Miles, you're not coming with us tomorrow, are you?
No, I'm not. No,
he's got better things to do.
My support has limits. YMCA on a Tuesday night is one of them. It's just wrapping up the fixtures. I mean, as you said, Barry, it's quite nice with sort of playing 14 potentially on the beach, back four, and that could really help us. But we've got to put ourselves in a position to be in the mix, really. And I just can't stress how important the games after Hornchurch are really in the next 3 or 4 after that. Because like Bob said, if we manage to pick up like 2 points out of the horrendous February we've got, essentially. Obviously, Hampton Richmond's a winnable game, but other than that, it's so tough. That February time there. So it's got to keep ourselves in the mix, really. But what I will say in terms of like supporters, I think it's a weird one currently because it just feels like quite sad as the overall emotion. Like I think we're just seeing a lot of people who obviously we've got like the people that will know who they are who go every game. Like their support is unfaltering in the sense that, like, you boys, like, credit to you for going to a senior cup game on Tuesday night. Like, no matter if we were in the Ishmael South East or whatever, you'd still be going, which is fair play, and so would I. But I think it's just so sad how we could have capitalised like so much on last season. Like I dreamed of seeing crowds of 3,500 people at Priory Lane, and to be going down to like, what was it, 700 against Horsham, and like Horsham on Tuesday night, which I know it's a Tuesday night game and it was cold and wet. I get that, but like Worthing still managed to pull in, what was it, like 2,500 for their Tuesday night game the other week, and it just shows you how keeping that success on the pitch. Like I know that's not for the want of trying from like Simon Allen, etc. But it would just be nice to see some like accountability for how it's all gone so horribly wrong. Essentially, like I don't know how we're in this situation again. Like, I think we said, and obviously not on the podcast, we weren't doing it then, but we said after the 23-24 season, ride that off, we're never going back there again, and here we are again in basically the worst position we were last time. Essentially, I think it's 2 points worse off at this point of the season than we was 2 years ago. It's just sad. Like it's just like we go to Borough to escape, right, and we don't go to it to be angry at our team or shout, and we go to back them essentially. I don't expect us to win every game, far from it. But currently we're just not really getting as much enjoyment as we've been promised. I think it's fair to say. I think it's a fair comment. We were sort of sold a bit of expectations, particularly around the season, and it's just really been catastrophic. So if we can just get through it now and write it off again and say the same thing again and hopefully not get back in, that'd be great. But yeah, fair play to everyone that turns up every week, and particularly for everyone that go in on Tuesday night and will be following us away to Hornchurch and Dagenham as well, and obviously the home games too.
Yeah, so let's just spin that a little bit there. I mean, we've got Horsham YM tomorrow in the Senior Cup, which is it's just a Senior Cup game, which would be nice to get a win. And then we've got what I've called a penalty kick at Hornchurch. I just want to see a performance. But let's say that we go on a little run and which is what we all want. And let's say that we start playing like we played away at Dover, and like we played at Tunbridge, and like we've, played at home to Hampton. And let's say we go through Farnborough and Enfield at home, couple of wins. We go away to Dagenham, and we owe them one anyway because they beat us 2-0 at home. Let's say we get a point at Dagenham. I know I'm looking, but our away form's actually not too bad. And then we might go and get a point at Chesham. So I'm very optimistically looking. We could get 8 points from them 4 games. If we're then unbeaten in 4, does that then change the next 4 fixtures? Your Maidstone at home, your Torquay at home, your Dorking at home, your Western-super-Mare away, stuck in the middle of them. Does that then change them games if we are on that little bit of a run? And I think no one knows the answer to that. We can all surmise, and everyone's going to be sitting there looking at their computer screens going, oh, it will make a difference or it won't make a difference. But it may do, right? It may just be that little bit of confidence, that little bit of, put momentum. Us on the run. And that's the big word, is momentum. Give you that momentum. There we go. Bobbie, your final thoughts?
I'm very. I don't put a lot on the forum, and I mainly use Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I say it mostly, but this is a dark time. I think this is a dark time for us as fans of this football club. I think I finished on my last post saying something must change ASAP. I think everyone can echo that. That where we are, we know why we're here. Players have shown why we're here. Tommy, as always, is adamant that we won't go down, and I will stand by Tommy because he's a manager that knows this club like the back of his hand, inside and out. So it's just I don't know whether we're up, whether we're staying up, whether we're going down. I'll never turn on sort of the players, the management, and just give up, because I think all 3 of us and some of you that are watching that we're all loyal, that we're all going to support until the end. But I want to say we're a club that doesn't belong in the division below. That's not what I'm trying to say. We've kind of built in this league. We're known for being in this division and the division above for a couple of seasons. We've never been in the Isthmian Premier League. If we go down, how are we going to adapt to that? That is the question. Because there are teams in that division who, once they go down, they never come back up. Or not ever. They've not come back up since. So that's where I lay. It's almost it's scary. Because we go down, how do we adapt? But I think for now, everyone has to sort of get behind the team, because without the team, they're nothing. And if we're not going to support the team, we're not going to be in a good place come April. So I think the rallying call is just to get behind the team until our last game of season.
And I agree with that. And I think that what you just said there just shows really how football has moved on in 20 years. Because, or less than 20 years. Because when we got promoted to the National League, the South wasn't that hard to get out of. We had part-time players. Some were literally training 1 night a week. Lewis had the same. And between the pair of us, we took the league by storm. Lewis won it and we went up through the playoffs. But everyone said that the National League was a difficult league to get out of. But obviously then there was, less teams getting promoted. But I think since that time, we now look at this is a difficult league to get out of, but so is the league below us. And it's just a talent, I think, of part-time footballers, because there's so much more full-time or hybrid football now in our league. You know, the part-time football players, the people that just want to play in the evening, you know, train 2 nights a week and play on the Saturday or play on the Tuesday, and they've got full-time regular jobs. They've got to find somewhere to play, and these are decent players that are playing, as you say, Bob, in the Isthmian Premier, and that is where football is now moving and making it very difficult. So, you know, let's look at it. I don't think the club can afford relegation. So it's not something that we can even look at. So you're right in what you say. We need to get behind the team. We need to, you know, give all the support we can, be as loud and as noisy as we can. And we'll have to start that with just me and you, Bob, tomorrow night. So
yeah. Pitch invasion at 1-0 up. We went pitch invasion after we win 1-0 after a scrappy game of football.
Or if we're losing 1-0 with 5 minutes to go, I'll go down with heart attack, yeah? And we get it abandoned. So thanks for tonight, guys. And before we go, we're going to do our predictions. As you're not going tomorrow, Miles, I won't give you a prediction for tomorrow unless you really want to do one. But Bob, what are you going for tomorrow night?
3-1 to Borough. We never keep clean sheets, so I can bet it. They'll probably score against us. It's not hard to. Anyone could score against us. And then looking at Hornchurch, same result for Hornchurch. 3-1 win for Hornchurch. We'll score, and they'll just run us ragged. So, yes, there we are.
Miles, yourself, you going to score for tomorrow night?
Why not? Yeah, I'll back us well. For tomorrow, I'll say win 5-1. I think we'll come out fine. I think Tommy will put a decent team out as well, and we should have more than enough to blow away a county league side. So I'll go 5-1 tomorrow, and then Hornchurch is such a tough one. I'm gonna stick with my gut, which I don't like to predict us to lose, but I will. I'm gonna say 2-1 to Hornchurch. But what I will say, I'd echo what you boys said in terms of like support. Like I think it's quite easy. It's easy to be a fan, not so easy to be a supporter, right? Like we've been probably me more so than you boys tonight, but obviously you boys have your turn to be negative. I've been very negative tonight. But one thing I will be doing is backing the lads on Saturday, because they're the only ones that can get out of this mess. You know, Tommy can help, we can help, Simon and Alan can do their, you know, bits behind the scenes. The stewards can do their work, the T-Lady can do their work, but only the players with the Borough crest on their shirt can get us out of the shambles. So we'll be backing them, whether I want them to stay as players or individuals, whatever. You know, I've had my opinions on certain players, but I'll be backing them 100% once they cross that white line to hopefully the 3 points. So, yeah. Hornchurch is not always the easiest place to make an atmosphere, just due to how far away from the pitch is. But we've got to make sure we're heard, and back the lads. But yeah, my prediction is 2-1 Hornchurch still. On that note.
Yeah, and I'm going to go for. I think we'll win tomorrow quite strong. I think, like you say, Miles, you know, they're a county league outfit, and they're going to be playing for that bit of pride. They know that they're playing, you know, an enterprise Southsider in the mire at the minute, so they're going to look at that. But I think, you know, Tommy's now had a week, or Hugo and the team, Tommy's team have had a week now to drill into them what they want them to do. We know before, when we've had a week after a performance that wasn't adequate, we bounced back and won 6-0 against Hampton. I don't think that was a 6-0 game as well. I think everything we did turned to gold, and everything they tried to do just never worked for them. So, and we've had games like that where we've actually been probably, you know, the better side or as good. Worthing, for instance, you know, was never a 3-0 game for me. But there you go. So, yeah, I think tomorrow we win easy. I'm going to go sort of 5 or 6, and maybe they'll sneak 1. Saturday, a bit more difficult, and I think it will be a tight game, but I think it'll be. I'm going to go for 3-1 either way. And I know that doesn't, when I've said it's going to be a tight game, I think it will be tight, but I think that, you know, the team that are losing 2-1 might just sort of really need to drive forward and get that point. Hornchurch won't want to be beaten by us, and if we were in the lead, and obviously we need every point we can get. So I think, you know, if someone's 2-1 down with sort of 5 or 10 minutes to go, they're going to be flat out at it, because, you know, if you lose 2-1, you might as well lose 3 or 4-1, right? Because goal difference doesn't come into it. Not yet. Later on in the season, it might. So yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 either way. Hopefully it's Borough, but I'm with you guys. I think that it won't be, but I'd like to be pleasantly surprised. So hopefully this is going to be coming out anyway on Monday night, if I can get it edited in time. It'll be a late one if it does, so it'll come out about 9:30, 10 o'clock. It'll be live. Me and Bobbie might be doing a YouTube live tomorrow night, so look out for it at full time. We may do a little live with just us, or maybe somebody else joining us. We're not sure yet. And then we will see you all on Saturday at Hornchurch. So thanks for tonight, guys.
Right.
And I'll see you tomorrow, Bob. And I'll see you Saturday, Miles.
Yep, thank you. Up the sports.
Up the sports.